Nawlins Reads. It's Nawlins Reads. Dun, 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 dun. Hello, welcome to Nawlins Reads, another edition. And today we're going to talk about Men We Reaped by Jasmine Ward. I think it's really important that we talk about this memoir because when I say Jasmine took us on a journey, she took us on a journey of her parents' lives, people who they're connected to lives, and her childhood, her middle school life, her high school, her adult life. When I read nonfiction books about New Orleans, I always feel like it's New Orleans and then it's me. It's New Orleans and then it's me. I never quite feel connected. But when Jasmine Ward was saying, oh, and then we moved to Gulfport, or, we were here, or we went there, or Lake Pontchartrain, or like she was naming landmarks that I've been to countless of times. So for me, it was a connection there, or it was, even if I haven't been to it, I had family or I knew people who were from different parts. The story of being part Mississippi and part New Orleans is not really told often. I was able to understand her journey because there were so many parallels with my New Orleans experience and her journey. Jasmine talked about her hanging out with a bunch of black men in New Orleans and how they would always feel like their life is something that should be written. So when she said that, I was like, oh my God, like it made me think of my brother, my cousins, my brother-in-law, like all these different men in my life who'd be like, man, there should be a movie, So that made me, smile. And I was like, wow, I can relate. Unfortunately, that friend was killed. And when she talks about the death that she experienced in relation to New Orleans, really touched me because a lot of people see New Orleans and they see the fun. They see daiquiris, they see Mardi Gras, they see Bourbon Street, they see Canal, they see food, they see all the good tourist stuff. But for me, they don't see Black New Orleans. They can't see Black New Orleans. Like, Black New Orleans is lit, it's fun, it's magical, it's so much culture and so much like community. But then again, Black New Orleans can also have some consequences that you are not quite ready for. In the book, Jasmine Ward talked about how she's fearful for her nephew. And when I did the Black Booktuber tag, I was like, oh, I haven't cried while reading a book yet. But when I read that part, I felt like I was heaving, or is that what it's called when you're like, like that type of cry? I always tell myself, New Orleans streets is not going to take my nephews. Like, they're not going to take my nephews. They have taken so many of my nephew's friends. I just cannot do it. Like, it cannot happen. So when she was talking about like being an aunt and how protective she is of her nephew, I felt that. I understood that, because you can love New Orleans. I'm not saying New Orleans is where I was born, is where I was raised. I love New Orleans, but I can also critique New Orleans. It's a multifaceted place, and I have so many contradictory feelings and emotions from New Orleans. I also feel like a part of me is broken and feel like I need to be there because it's New Orleans and I'm from New Orleans. That internal struggle of Should I be there? Should I not be there? Is a lot of what the author felt. She missed a lot of opportunities and pay raises and all different type of stuff because she felt like she had to be there, you know? So I definitely understand it. I felt like this book was as close to my Black experience and to the New Orleans that I know than any other book I've ever read. I am interested to see if there is another book that's going to depict New Orleans and also Mississippi and being Black in those parts in a way that I can relate to as Jasmine Ward. At this time, I don't see it. I really feel like you should read Men We Reaped. That title was just spot on. Like, when she talks about the struggles of having an absent father, of a father being there, then not there, and then how his absence led to her not feeling complete, led to her feeling like everyone's gonna abandon me, everyone's not gonna be there for me, for how that led to depression on top of losing, you know, men in her life who meant the world to her, her brother, her friends. The title was spot on, and I definitely understood it. There was parts of the book where she talked about being in a predominantly white high school, and one of the girls she went to high school said, "Hey, are you gonna give me some nigger braids?" And man, that like shot me in the heart because granted, no one has told me that. I do remember being at predominantly white high schools after Katrina and people just saying stupid stuff, like very dumb stuff that didn't make any sense, and in a lot of ways I have forgotten about them, but reading this book kind of triggered me and I was just like, yeah, sounds about white. It's not an easy book to read. It's really not, especially when you share so many lived experiences with the author. I think that is why it took me so long to read this book. But I wanted to feature this book in Nawlins Reads because I knew this book was going to be important. I knew this book was going to be impactful. And I knew it had to be done. But whew, it definitely was a hard book to read. And specifically reading about her brother Joshua had me crying because to be so close and feel like you need to protect your brother, and knowing that you're telling your brother, you know, if you need anything, if you want to talk, I'm here, but knowing that there's literally nothing you can do is heartbreaking. I pray for my brother every day. I pray for him every day. So, and I worry every day. If you are looking for a memoir that is 100% truth-telling, that will have you think of a place that you have fantasized as only in positive lights and only in a way that is going to give you enjoyment, and you're looking for the other side of the coin, this is definitely the book to read. It's extremely brave for Jasmine Ward to put her body, her voice, and her stories on the line and just tell you some really gut-wrenching truths about herself and her mental health. That is, talking about mental health in New Orleans with people from New Orleans is not easy. It is not easy. And as a therapist myself, I'm constantly trying to be like, you know, that sounds like anxiety. It might be some depression. You might want to see a counselor. I ain't crazy. You know, but we know that Black mental health, it matters. It needs to be prioritized. But a lot of times in different Black communities, it is looked at something that like something's terribly wrong with you, and that they're crazy and that you're trying to insinuate that they are. So it's not always received. And New Orleans is one of those communities where mental health is not prioritized. So the fact that she was out here like, look, your girls suffer with depression, suicidal ideation, and I struggle sometimes. I was like, wow, to be that forthcoming of that is something I don't often see. I read this book as a part of Nawlins Reads and also a buddy read, and I'm gonna say that it was a book that I definitely needed to read, and it was hard for me to digest, and there were quite a lot of trigger warnings in this book, but it needed to happen, and I'm glad that I read it because it is so good to be seen through an author's point of view. Well, there you have it, folks. That is the book of Nawlins Reads, Men We Weep by Jasmine Ward. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, the like button, and the comment button. And I want to know what you think of this book. Have you read this book? Will you read this book? And this section is also for you to ask questions to me about my experience being from New Orleans. So definitely put it in the comments and let me know. And as always, have a wonderful day.